Well, hey, how are you today? I'm doing fine and thanks for asking. So I'm starting a new video series. I'm gonna do some stuff from my book. Oh, my book. My book. Oops. Yeah, okay, not too shiny. Wish of Pentacles is the name of it. And it's about a rock musician with psychic abilities. So I thought I'd read some excerpts from it, and I wrote and recorded a couple songs based on a couple of these chapters. So I thought I'd stick that in at the end of the video. Um, so let me get started. Let me get my specs here. Sorry for the reflection. I need to get contacts one of these years. So the back of the book, so you kind of get an idea. I like to mingle with the fans as unobtrusively as possible, just to see what I might pick up. I'd already gotten 3 good songs that way over the years I'd been with Illinois, and I was hoping for inspiration. What I got classified less as inspiration and more as being hit by lightning. There I was, mingling away in the throng, pretty much convinced that I was unknown to all around me, when someone touched me on the shoulder. It was just a light touch, but I swear I felt a jolt from it that was almost electrical in nature. Surprised, I swung around and stopped dead. My mouth tried to drop open. I managed to keep from blowing my cool altogether, but I think my eyes bugged out a little, despite my best efforts. I was standing face to face with the blond, blue-eyed man from my dreams. He had a faint, sly smile on his face, as though he knew some great secret that I didn't, and his eyes had a gleam to them that said it was a big secret. He said, "Hi, my name's Tommy, and this is my sister." There was that slight southern accent with a hint of Britain mixed in there with it, just like in the dream. And then my entire train of thought derailed with a screeching, shuddering, crunching crash. Wait a minute, sister? He stepped aside at that moment, just as he had in my dream of the night before, and my jaw did drop. And I'm certain my eyes bugged out. A beautiful young woman with long chestnut hair stood there. Her eyes were sea green, her skin porcelain. So that's pretty much an excerpt from this chapter, which I shall read to you as soon as I finish feeding the dog. First things first. Okay, now, Wish of Pentacles, a supernatural love story. Chapter 4, Face to Face. We got into Providence less than 5 hours before we were scheduled to play. We all piled out of the bus and equipment truck, wired on caffeine, sugar, and adrenaline, knowing we were going to have to run flat out in order to get set up in time. But the instant my foot hit the asphalt in the parking lot outside the theater, I froze in my tracks and my stomach flipped clear over and played dead. I just spotted the name above the marquee on the theater. Ocean State Theater. I was so stunned by the coincidence, if that was what it really was, that Rick almost had to body check me out of the way in order to get off the bus. I just stumbled to one side to make room for him and the others and stood there, staring up at the marquee. What had the man in the dream said? Hey, pal, figure this out. It's all happening at the Ocean State. He hadn't been talking about a state nickname or anything of the sort. He'd been talking about a theater. No wonder Ocean State had sounded familiar. Mark had mentioned this theater's name back when we'd first set off on tour, but he hadn't mentioned it by name since then, and it had just slipped my mind. I had a sudden overwhelming feeling that something of earth-shaking importance was about to happen. Maybe it wouldn't be big enough to shake up the whole world literally, but it had the feel of it being big enough to rattle my world around. I finally managed to shake myself out of it enough to get back to the business of making a living and got busy with the setup. For once, nothing went wrong, and we actually got set up with time to spare. The sound check went well, and I still had an hour or so left in which to get a bite to eat and unwind a little. Eating didn't take all that long. I still had a little time to my name before I did something I enjoyed in particular. I went out to the parking lot to mingle with the fans. Dire Straits got the lyrics for Money for Nothing because one of the band members just happened to be in a record store one day where a couple of rednecks were bad-mouthing rockers in general. I like to mingle with the fans as unobtrusively as possible just to see what I might pick up. I'd already gotten 3 good songs that way over the years I've been with Illinois, and I was hoping for inspiration. What I got classified less as inspiration and more as being hit by lightning. There I was, mingling away in the throng, pretty much convinced that I was unknown to all around me, when someone touched me on the shoulder. It was just a light touch, but I swear I felt a jolt from it that was almost electrical in nature. Surprised, I swung around and stopped dead. My mouth tried to drop open. I managed to keep from blowing my cool altogether, but I think my eyes bugged out a little, despite my best efforts. I was standing face to face with the blond, blue-eyed man from my dreams. He had a faint, sly smile on his face, as though he knew some great secret that I didn't, and his eyes had a gleam to them that said it was a big secret. He said, "Hi, my name's Tommy, and this is my sister." There was the slight southern accent, with the hint of Britain mixed in there with it, just like in the dream. And then my entire train of thought derailed with a screeching, shuddering, crunching crash. Wait a minute. Sister? He stepped aside at that moment, just as he had in my dream of the night before, and my jaw did drop, and I'm certain my eyes bugged out. A beautiful young woman with long chestnut hair stood there. Her eyes were sea green, her skin porcelain. I actually found myself checking her legs to make sure she didn't have a mermaid's tail. Nope, just gorgeous legs down there. I stepped back involuntarily and tried hard to catch my breath. It didn't want to be caught. That feeling I'd had during that dream, the night before, the one of overwhelming true love, had just hit me in the pit of the stomach and knocked the wind out of me. By the way, this is a guy narrating. Okay. She seemed to be taken somewhat aback by my reaction. She smiled a little uncertainly and ventured, "Hi, we always thought your name should have been Alex instead of Rain, since your last name is Sanders." My mind was racing like an auto engine with the gas pedal clear down to the floor and the gear shift left in neutral, scrambling through one realization and possibility after another. So his name's not Alex, it's Tommy. I'm supposed to be Alex, eh? Not a bad pun, actually. Alex Sanders, Alexander. It fits in a way. I don't understand how or why, but that's the way it feels. What do I say to her? Maybe I should just joke about it? I should at least get her name. So I tried out what I hoped was a convincingly composed and easygoing smile and extended my hand to Tommy. "Good to meet you. Thanks for coming to this show. Looks like I'm not quite as anonymous as I thought, or you wouldn't be blowing my cover like this." I turned to those green eyes, praying I wouldn't do something asinine like drown in them. I at least needed to know her name before I put my foot in my mouth. "I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name." She seemed a little chagrined at the oversight. She glanced down and away a little shyly as she accepted my outstretched hand. I thought I saw the beginnings of a blush around her throat, but I couldn't be sure. The lighting out in the lot was nothing to brag about. Oh, She trailed off, apparently losing her nerve. Tommy's eyes gleamed with boyish glee. He let out a crow that was as much teasing as it was laughter and chuckled. I don't believe this. You're nervous. The woman's face clouded quickly in annoyance, and she shot a look at her brother that fell just short of being venomous. Don't you dare to presume to tell me how I feel. She turned to me, jaw setting in determination, and said, My name is Wilma Shirley Pentacle. My friends call me Wish. My first reaction to this was, wow, what a string of names, especially that last one. Sounds kind of sorcerous. My second reaction was a little more audible. Your friends call you Wish? She smiled. That blush became a little more noticeable. Yes, it's a nickname, a composite of the first two letters of my first and middle names. W-I from Wilma Shirley plus S-H from Shirley equals Wish. I found myself laughing in delight. I like that. Have you always used that nickname? Tommy let out a sigh of brotherly irritation and near scorn. What's this composite garbage anyway? Man, we call her a Wish 'cause she's a total airhead. Wish's response was a laugh tinged with irritation. Oh, be quiet. I am not. Tommy's laugh grew even more teasing. He made head-expanding motions with his hands and blew his cheeks out with suggestive bellows like pumping sounds. You could inflate balloons at a carnival by sticking them in your ear. He turned to me as if confiding some deep, dark secret and explained, When she was little, all she ever said was, I wish, I wish, I wish. And that's how she got the name. I gave it to her when she was 5 years old. Wish was starting to turn a little too red for comfort, and her eyes looked as though they'd start spitting sparks at any moment. You are such a liar, Tommy. It's a composite of Wilma and Shirley. Tommy shook his head, expression just short of sarcasm, and laughed. Geez, where'd you get all this fancy-schmancy composite stuff anyway? Wish's temper snapped. There was real fire in her eyes now. She raised a fist to him as though it held a club and took a step toward him, growling, Tommy, if you don't quit mouthing off and belittling me, I'm going to brain you. Tommy blanched and gingerly put his arm across her shoulders. Hey, relax. I'm just teasing you. You are tense. She glowered at him. I figured I better break in before the situation got any more intense. Nervously, I cleared my throat. Both of you look familiar to me somehow, but I don't recognize your names. Maybe I dreamed you. I made it a point to say that last part with a laugh, as if I weren't really serious about it. But I was fishing for a reaction, plain and simple. Dreaming about these two people before meeting them couldn't be ordinary coincidence. It was so synchronistic. I could feel a guiding hand of some sort in this. I just didn't know what kind of guiding hand or have any idea whose it might be, assuming there was any kind of human agency involved in it. Wish didn't respond to my little fishing expedition. She was upset with her brother and probably too busy struggling to regain her composure to even notice what I'd done. But I saw a split-second gleam in Tommy's eyes that told me I'd hit the mark. Somehow these two were involved in the dreams I'd been having about them. A shout from the stage door caught my attention. It was Tom warning me that I was running late and I needed to get backstage for the show. But I just couldn't walk away from these two people without making some effort at establishing some way of getting in touch with them again. That just felt wrong. So I hesitated, waved Tom back inside, and waited for one or the other of these half strangers to say something. Tommy finally cleared his throat, gave me a faint, sly, knowing smile, and murmured, "Well, we don't want to keep you. It was great meeting you." He held out his hand. I shook it uncertainly. "Same here." He didn't seem inclined to take it any farther. I turned to Wish and tried one last time. I glanced back at the stage door and Tom and murmured, It was really nice meeting you, Wish. I wish I didn't have to go back in right now, but duty calls. If I'm not up on stage when the show starts, our manager gets slightly bent out of shape. I hope we'll have a chance to talk again soon." How I wished I could have given them backstage passes for the show, but we were going to have to drive all night to get to the next city in time. She gave me that almost shy look again. "Me too, Rain." I tore myself away. Wish of Pentacles, Chapter 4. Yeah, the I is Rain. He's the narrator, male. It's a little weird, I know, for me, a female, to be saying, "I loved her. I thought she was beautiful." I mean, I'm straight, so okay. Anyway, foot and mouth here. Yeah, I'm straight. Rain's straight. Everybody in the book, I guess, is straight. And that's just the way it is. No judgment intended. But it's it's a very straightforward story. Also, something you need to know is it is set around 1991, so communication was was more difficult back then. There was no internet, no cell phones except for emergencies, so no texting. So they didn't have a very good way of staying in touch except by phone or by letter. I guess that's all of them. What a thought. Well, things have really changed. So yeah, that's my book that I co-wrote with a friend back in around the 90s, really. So this was actually present day as I was writing it, but it took me so long to get it published. It's now set in the past. And I'm writing the sequel. It's coming along. I'm on about chapter 6 with the sequel. It is set again in this present day, so it's 20 years later. So hopefully it won't take me that long to get the new one published. So I hope I haven't started a cycle of taking 20 years to get a book published or whatever. So I hope you enjoyed that. So I will add the song at the end credits. It's based on that chapter. It's called Mermaiden, and in parentheses, Face to Face, so that's also the chapter title. And yeah, I composed it and I recorded it, and that's me. I'm all over it. I'm it. I had no assistance. So there's a spoken part. That is my voice. I altered it in the software so it sounds somewhat more masculine. It just sounds kind of really weird, but that's the best I could do with the Audacity software. So I'm by no means a professional musician, but it was just an idea of putting some of the book to music. The songs just wanted to come out, so I gave it a shot. It was kind of fun. I thought if they were really good enough, I might put together a sort of a soundtrack album to go with the book, but I don't think they're good enough. So I just sort of stick them in videos now and then. It's sort of fun, but the book is for sale on Amazon, Wish of Pentacles. And maybe you pick up a copy, or if you want to review it, that'd be fabulous. Just let me know. I love reviews. It needs a lot of reviews. I'd like to sell some copies of it. So thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for hanging around, and I'm gonna close, and I'll put the song on there, and you can listen to that while you're reading the credits and stuff. So you guys have a great day. Take care. So long.